Hey guys, how's it going? This is Craig from Bass Lessons Melbourne. Welcome to another player profile episode, and today I'm joined by Mr. Kevin Scott. How are you, man?
I'm good.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
We are in the Bahamas. No, we're not in the Bahamas. We're in Wangaratta.
Yep.
Sunny Wangaratta for the Jazz Festival.
Beautiful.
Principality.
Yeah. The spa and sauna area here.
You got some bikini models in the background.
Yep.
Yeah. On break. What brings you to this neck of the woods?
Playing the Jazz and Blues Festival with FORQ.
Cool. Yeah. How's that going?
Great.
Played last night?
Played last night. Yep.
Yeah. Packed house?
Pretty good.
Yeah.
It was a good amount of people in there.
This is the end of a tour for you guys,
Yeah,
right?
this is the last date. We're leaving tomorrow, going back to Atlanta.
Damn. Actually, maybe we'll switch that microphone to this side if you're going to be talking in this general direction. Yeah. You can stick it like where I have it there. You don't want to ruin your vintage T-shirt either.
This is a vintage shirt, actually.
Yeah.
Dwayne Trucks bought it for me. It's like an $80 shirt. Is that good?
Really? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's pretty forgiving.
Okay, good.
It's an $80 shirt.
Yeah. Vintage ECW. I actually saw the real ECW a few times. Yeah, when they were still around.
Yeah.
Before Vince bought everybody out.
So and then it became WWE.
Yeah, Vince bought everything. Well, WWE now.
Right. But back in the day, it was WWF.
Yeah.
Yeah. So ECW was like the original.
ECW was like the kind of the outlaw, kind of more like the underground wrestling federation that started a lot of the modern trends that's popular.
So it was kind of straddled that, like, entertainment but still real shit.
Yeah, I mean it was just like a lot more edgy.
Yeah.
You know, like kind of like Jerry Springer wrestling or something. It's like the best wrestlers, but they weren't like household names or anything.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. And you, I understand you kind of dabbled.
Yeah, I did for a second. You know, I did a stint in the backyard wrestling circuit for a minute as Ted Technical. I went to a school for maybe 2 times.
Okay.
And then wrestled a match in a bowling alley in Panama City.
What was your wrestler?
Ted Technical.
Ted Technical.
Yeah.
Right. Did you have a thing? Like, you know, like Jake Snake had a snake.
No, I wish. No. It was, you know.
A calculator?
I had a calculator. Notes.
So technical.
Just writing notes here. I should have done that, actually.
So, FORQ tour. Switzerland.
Yes.
You've done that before?
I've played Switzerland before.
Okay, were you in Bern or? Basel?
No, it was a smaller place, but this guy, Stefan, hosts this amazing jazz series there.
Okay.
So it was like 3 nights of recording and videoing.
Oh, sweet.
We can put up, you know, amazing meals and
3 nights in the one club?
yeah.
Cool.
So we're gonna do a lot, and he's gonna press all to vinyl.
That's awesome.
Sick, yeah.
Cool. And so there's a scene for it.
Yeah, a lot of people took the train there, but it was really good crowds every night and amazing quality recording. I was running stereo. I had 2 bass amps.
What?
Yeah, I had a vintage B15 running my clean channel, and then I ran all my effects through the Noble through the Aguilar.
So you had like a clean and a wet.
Yeah,
Was it Bliss?
it was. Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
You probably didn't even have to have it that loud in those kind of situations.
No, not at all. It was amazing.
Yeah, I gigged in Switzerland once, and it's one of the things I remember as well is just how like everything. It's like what you would think about the Swiss. Like everything ran as it should.
Oh, everything's
The sound was just like, you know, turn up the monitors. It's like, yeah, that sounds great. We're done.
yeah, it's a lot of cheese too.
Cheese,
A
yeah.
lot of cheese and wine.
So clean.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing country for sure.
So then from Switzerland down through some other European countries.
Yeah, we did. After that, we did Italy, Germany. We did China.
Okay.
China before Australia at a Blue Note.
What was that like?
You know, it was interesting. The crowd was pretty bad.
Young?
No, just the club's been open for 2 years.
Is that all?
Yeah, so a lot of people were just kind of, I mean, there's a woman reading a book in the front row and all these business people cheering and talking throughout the set.
Right, okay. They don't quite get it yet.
They don't get it yet. And one guy was sitting in the front like this the entire time, staring at me. So it's kind of hard
That's when
to
you know you're doing a good job.
Yeah, kind of hard to catch a vibe,
Yeah,
sort of.
right.
But it was a great gig.
Who knows? I mean, next time you go back, I've heard the Shanghai Jazz Festival is pretty.
Yeah.
epic.
Well, they're going to open a Shanghai Blue Note, supposedly. So.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
And then Australia, so like Sydney.
Sydney and then here.
And then here. I read in the press that Henry from FORQ captains boats.
Yeah, he's big into sailing.
Yeah.
Big time.
So apparently when he was here before, he actually took the band on the boat out of Sydney Harbour.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Didn't do that here.
No.
Kept that one quiet.
Kept that one quiet, yeah.
Yeah, you like, through the shipping lanes and all that kind of stuff.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a great sailor. That's his passion besides music.
And how did the FORQ gig come by for you? Because originally it was the same guys but with Mike League, is that
Mike
right?
League, yep. Him and Henry and JT and JT Thomas, the drummer, and Adam Rogers started.
Adam Rogers, right? Yeah.
And that was years ago. And then
just Mike wasn't cutting it, so they had
yeah. No, I think Adam was too busy, and then they got Chris, and then Mike became too busy. So I started playing with Wayne Krantz about 2 years ago, maybe. Mm-hmm. And basically, Harry's looking for a bass player, and Tim LaFay recommended me, I think. And Henry came to see me play with Wayne one night, and sure, I'll play, sure.
Really? So just, yeah. Mm-hmm. Was that at 55?
Yeah.
I wonder how many bands have been, put together from musicians going to check out other musicians at the 55.
Probably a lot.
I mean, Black Star, essentially.
Yep.
The Bowie thing with Tim, that's where he came to see them, right?
Yep. That's why every gig you play should be...
You never know who's going to be there.
You always have to look at it like it's... You can't look down any rooms,
Yeah, well, I mean, when I went to 55 Bar, I was like, oh, this is the 55 Bar?
Right.
It's like, because it's iconic. It's known the world over. I mean, you go in, it's just like any other kind of little Greenwich Village bar.
Man, it's a dive for sure.
Yeah. But it's got a thing.
And what amazes me about that place is how good recordings sound from there.
Yeah.
It makes no sense.
I think it's just a really dead room.
It's got to be.
Super dead.
It's got to be.
So I went there to see Mike Stern with Richard Bonner. And I keep on forgetting the drummer's name. It's unreal. But we got there super early,
Oh yeah.
Music students like front row and.
Man, we used to fly up from Atlanta to go catch Wayne.
Yeah.
For years. Wait. I remember one time me, Dwayne, and Nick. We were staying out in the cold for half hour to go see that show.
I mean, was it cold or was it cold for you?
It was freezing. It was freezing.
So it was like 10, 9 degrees.
I mean, it was like 20 degrees out.
Yeah.
It was really cold.
Yeah. Well, can you remember the first time you heard Wayne?
First time?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was living with this, I guess I was about 20, 21. I was living with this guy, Greg Perry, this drummer, great drummer. He was a little older than I was, and at the time I was kind of frustrated with a lot of things, just in terms, because I've been running this jam session for like 13 years, and we're still playing a lot of tunes, and I was getting way more into improv in terms of like wanting to do just straight improvised sessions.
Yeah.
And a lot of them kind of went to that kind of scratch and sniff style of free jazz, And my buddy, I was describing this to Greg and how I wish there was find a sound where it was like, you know, kind of 70s Herbie mixed with avant-garde mixed with like rock. He goes, well, there's a guy doing that. His name's Wayne Krantz. You could check him out. And, you know, that was back when you could get all these bootlegs off his website.
Yeah,
Back
that's
in the
right.
day, you could buy them.
Basic Live.
Yeah, he would record essentially every week, I think, and put it up or something like that for sale.
It's quite pioneering for,
I know.
what, 13 years ago, 10 years ago?
Longer, yeah.
Late 90s, was it?
Yeah, late 90s, 2000 era.
Yeah.
And so I got real obsessed with it. Big time obsessed. And
Was that Tim on bass?
Tim was on bass, or Anthony, the recordings I had, most of them was on Carlock and or
yeah.
Cliff Allman. And I got real obsessed with the concept. I think bought his book,
Okay.
and
Did it become any clearer?
yeah, I mean, the concept of how to improvise in that way became a lot clearer, you know, because it's mostly based around, you know, formulas, you know, because
So if you know the kind of things to look for and listen for, it makes sense.
Yeah,
Because first time I heard it, it was
yeah.
like that band just turned on a dime and went to this slow shuffle
Yeah.
from frenetic 16 stuff.
Wayne cues all that.
Yeah.
So so basically, I like the concept so much because you have kind of this ringleader that decides not the harmony but the vibe and the tempo,
Yeah.
which is way cooler. Excuse me.
Excused.
But yeah, so I got obsessed with Wayne and started really trying to get down that rabbit hole as much as I could without studying with him. You know, and okay,
You're allergic to interviews.
I'm allergic to Scotsman. But so that was a rabbit hole I went down, and through that I started discovering more of the New York scene. You know. Wow.
Maybe imagine you grew allergic to alcohol.
Yeah, I think it's just the Aussie
That would be bad.
plant or something. I don't know, but
You all right?
I'm good. Yeah. And so I went down that hole.
So this is when you said you were like what 20?
21.
In the early 20s.
Yeah.
And you're still in Atlanta.
I was in Atlanta. Yep. Yeah.
So you're like, and then so did you kind of take that, and that was the genesis for your jam, or you were already doing the jam?
We were doing the jam at the time, but we're still playing a bunch of tunes and improvising around
Okay.
them. You know.
Instead of just straight up.
Yeah, it was like, you know, inner urge for a year straight. You know. You know what I mean?
You got to do it, you know.
Yeah, you have to. But so my buddy Carter Arrington is this amazing guitar player down in Austin. We decided one day, you know what, we're going to New York for a week and just go catch a bunch of music. And I was about 23 at the time. And that changed everything for me because I saw Wayne, I saw Dave Vinny, I saw Ari Honing, saw Tim play.
Yeah. It's amazing what you can catch in New York in such a short space of time.
Oh, it was insane.
Yeah. It's like when I was there for 10 days and I saw like, you know, Weckel, Will Lee, Mike Stern, Lettuce.
Right.
And I was like, okay, now it makes sense.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
to be there for 10 days and see all of that.
So, yeah, a year's worth of music in 10 days.
Coogee Bell,
Wow.
that was great. Yeah.
Yeah. So then that changed everything because I saw Wayne, Tim, Benny, and Dan Wise do a complete improv gig at the Iridium. And I was like, they ran everybody out of the room. It was great, you know. And then I was like, you know what? Like, if they're doing it, then I'm gonna do it down here. Like, there's no reason why. Like, I want to do this. I want to do improvised music. So.
And there was the caliber of players to do it.
Yeah. I mean, at the time we were so young. It was like.
You just
So we're all developing a lot of shit together, which was like really cool time.
Yeah.
You know, and but you know, before that was Colonel Bruce Hampton. Like that was, so I mean, my biggest influence in terms of harmony and rhythm and kind of perspective is Wayne and Bruce.
Okay.
Like that's two guys that I've spent, I've spent time studying, and then studying with.
Yeah.
So it was like those two guys are my biggest inspirations in terms of the overall spectrum.
One of the things that really stands out for me with that would be, and it's obviously evident you're playing, it's time. You know, that constant subdivision. You know, that Tim has. That it's like. You know, was it just from checking out that stuff that developed, or was that something you kind of had, and then it was more just getting into the thinking on the spot and executing it?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it, when I was even in high school, I would do these improv shows in Dothan, where I'd, ask a friend from New Orleans, give him a Greyhound bus ticket, and come do improv. Because at the time, I was real big in the Sean Lane's trio with Jonas Hilberg and Jeff Seid. So, and their way of improvisation, which was it wasn't like rhythmically as crazy as Wayne, but just Sean was a genius, and him and Sipe together was like Coltrane and Elvin to me, and so then it kind of evolved into Wayne,
right,
thinking that concept, and then adding because the whole idea of it's time, harmonically speaking, there's a lot of information to obtain that's been around for a long time, but in terms of time, everybody has their own personal sense of time. So that's really more of your stamp, I think, is your time.
Yeah.
And
you've been lucky enough to work with some pretty outstanding drummers.
And that has everything to do with it. I mean, it's...
FORQ, you've got...
Oh, man, JT is one... the guy's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, that is the key, is, when you play with drummers, you're kind of adapting... You're kind of like... You're feeding off each other, so... You're giving them a little something, they're giving you back a little something.
Yeah.
To take forever, So... I've been very lucky to play with some amazing drummers.
Has there been some guys who have been like, great drummers, like legit out there doing it, but you just haven't gelled with? Does that happen so much, or you're pretty adaptable?
At this point, I'm pretty adaptable. But, it's so weird, like once, especially the drum chair, once they get to the world-class level, it's like, if you can't adapt with that, then it's not them.
It's not their fault.
Yeah, So, but obviously, but
like playing with Zach, for example.
Yeah.
Like, what was that first time like when you plugged in and he hit the hats and the kick and you went and played whatever? Like,
well, the first gig with him was with Wayne.
Right.
And the thing is, oh jeez.
Cut.
I was obsessed with all the Zach stuff outside of Wayne.
Right. So what was he in Rudder? No, that was Matt Chamberlain.
No, it was Rudder was Carlock. But Zach had this band called Boomish. This band called Bluth.
And a website. Was the Boomish website? I've heard mythical.
Yeah, and I remember I discovered Boomish through my buddy Chris Hunt, and he was like, "Dude, this is up your alley," and I was like, "Holy shit, this is amazing!" And my buddy Mark got me into all of the stuff he did with Bedrock and Uri Kane, which is like long sessions of improvised music that Zach edited down to make kind of pieces out of.
Okay.
And I Zach is, beyond a drummer. He's one of the most influential musicians.
Yeah,
he's
an
all
artist.
time.
Yeah.
He's. So I get at the time I'm playing with Wayne a lot, and he's like, hey man, can you do this tour for a month in the States? And I was like, cool. And Danziger's on it. I was like, oh man, that's awesome. So he's like, well, come to 5 Bar, I got Zach on it, and right when we get to the first kind of note, we're both kind of like, cool, So that's how that happened with him.
Yeah.
You know? But we're also huge wrestling fanatics. You know, I am still, but Zach was at the first WrestleMania. You know, I mean, he was there as a child, so we've
Yeah,
always
wow.
wanted to do something, and I guess
Yeah, maybe.
he came down to Atlanta for a week to record. We had this guy named Brett, who was an amazing kind of sample artist, kind of NPC guy.
Okay.
We recorded a bunch of great music, but there wasn't like any kind of real concept behind it, you know. And so one day,
Just a stepping stone maybe to something else.
yeah, because and it's stuff I'm definitely gonna try to put out one of these days once we can figure out what to do with it. But I suggested, I was like, hey, why don't we just overdub wrestling interviews over it, auto-tune, you know, and that led into the extreme, you know, because Zach is so brilliant and can just see like 10 years ahead of a concept.
Yeah.
So he came up with the whole idea of Wednesday Night Titans
Right.
from that.
So that's the current thing that you're doing with them.
Yeah.
Which is wrestling footage cut with like similar execution to Edit Bunker,
Yeah. Similar.
but themed with wrestling.
Right.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of tongue-in-cheek, but not
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, it was.
like a serious music, but it's not a serious topic. I mean, not to say that wrestling's not a serious topic, but you know.
Yeah, there's just an endless treasure trove of comedic value out of it. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, we can never run out of
I saw a
ideas.
clip the other day. I'm not sure who the wrestler was, but he was like, "I just want to find a woman."
Yeah, that's Dr. D. Yeah. It's amazing. And then, of course,
yeah.
he comes up with a rhythm. You know, the original track, when our first rehearsal was, I came up with this kind of ending for it, and I was like, holy shit. Okay. You know, and he has to go in there painstakingly. I mean, people who not even grasp the amount of time he puts into the video,
I mean,
alone.
Cutting this takes me like a day, you know, an afternoon,
Yeah.
and this is not hard.
Right.
You know, it syncs it up. Just click the camera, and it's you know.
No,
But what he's doing is
it's
just
next level.
Why would you do that to yourself?
Yeah, it hurts. It hurts thinking about it, and
Yeah.
the hardest part too, a lot of times, is the general public and a lot of musicians don't really understand
Yeah.
what's happening.
You know, but on
Yeah.
the one hand, like it's kind of like jazz. It's kind of like jazz. It's like, you know, the general public or whatever, the musicians might go, "Oh yeah, that was cool," but you don't understand. It's like the man's entire life work,
Yeah.
culminating in that performance.
Yep.
But does that make it better or worse, or more worthy or less worthy? I mean, there is something to be said for taking things at face value.
Sure.
And it still has to stand on its own.
Yeah. It's just hard because, you know, when you get compared to certain things,
Okay.
and you're kind of like, not even close.
There's
Yeah.
no VJ involved.
Yeah. Or the idea of like, you know, somebody sitting in their room and playing along to something, you know,
Yeah,
comparing
right.
to that is like,
No.
don't, that's the thing that gets under my skin sometimes. So,
Yeah.
again, it goes back to the internet comments, which is stupid to even,
Yeah. Just don't
Care
even
about anyway.
bother. Yeah.
you know.
So obviously you've got that beautiful experiences with some amazing drummers, but also guitar players
Yeah, guitar players too, you know, I mean,
with Jimmy Herring,
yep,
the Colonel,
yep, yep,
Wayne,
yep,
Chris and FORQ,
yep.
you know, so
McLaughlin,
did you get to play with them?
yeah,
Wow.
that whole
Yeah,
tour.
well, okay.
6 weeks of that.
Who kicked your ass the hardest? Bruce?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's amazing you even come to that first, but yeah, I mean, you know, the thing about Bruce, which is like, I'm gonna light another cigarette.
Go for it.
He, you know, a lot of, me and Jimmy talk about this all the time, is like, there's guys that have, there's a different sound with guys who played with Bruce for real. Because essentially what Bruce does to you, or did, was he puts your ego in a blender. You know, and I would not be half the person I am if it wasn't for him lucky enough to be with him at an early age where.
How old were you?
2012 I started playing with him.
6 years ago?
Yeah, 2011, 2012, so, let's see, 33.
26.
Yeah, 26.
27?
Yeah. So, when he...
Is it in a loving way?
Oh,
Or is
yeah.
it, at the time, it doesn't feel like it, but in retrospect, it is.
Well, you know, it's weird. Me and his connection, you know, I was already not up my own ass as much as a lot of my peers were at the time. So to me, Bruce was just reinstating what I thought and then adding in 10 times more wisdom on top of it. You know, because he would say the stuff like, at the end of the day, it's just you're putting metal to a piece of wood. But it's also the most important thing in the world is art. But in music, you know. But in the other way, it's like, dude, you're not a doctor, you're not a fireman, you're not saving lives. You know, you go out there for an hour or two and push metal to wood.
But when you do, it has to mean something.
Intention. It's all about intention. You know, and that was his big thing. And, you know, and as all the good players that came out of Bruce, there's a lot of casualties too that couldn't comprehend it.
Yeah, right.
Because he would just see through you and find out, like, you know, what buttons can I push with him in order to get him better or make him lose his mind and quit, or just go back to being a jackass. You know?
Yeah, right. So what would you say would be the biggest switch that he flipped for you?
Just bass playing.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
just doing your job.
Yeah, I mean, because I was a 6-string and kind of fusion guy until I was about 24. And again, there's nothing wrong with that when it's done properly. But at the time, I was playing in a kind of like a fraternity bar band called Highly Kind, and then doing my jazz gigs in Atlanta. So, you know, me playing like a Van Morrison tune with a bridge sound, you know, just shitting all over the place.
Yeah.
You know, wasn't good.
That's not gonna fly.
So, you know, I was lucky enough in high school. I bought a 73 P bass for about $300 from a bass player in Dothan that was kind of down on his luck at the time.
You mean just a bass player?
Yeah. Well, he had some substance problems.
Yeah, right.
But I used to play with my dad at this piano bar gig on Fridays every now and then. He kind of came in and was like, I'm selling this bass, you want to buy it? And I was like, well, cool. I'm making this amount, so I'll give you the rest of the weekend. So I bought the bass. And man, that thing sat for years.
Oh, really?
Because I was playing my Warwick or my 6-string. Yeah, you know, exactly. You know, and
it's good for your facility, though.
Yeah, everything happens for a reason. Everything's important. I don't look down on any style.
Yeah.
But eventually, all these great drummers in Atlanta were like coming to my house and going, "Why aren't you playing that?" I was like, "Well, I can't play that fast on it or something." I'm like, "No, man, you gotta switch over to the P." And then I eventually did, because I was so frustrated with just always practicing with soloing over changes. Like, lost the reason why I started playing bass in the first place, which is to be like Duck Dud when I heard Booker T when I was 10.
I think that's important. Is like, I get, you know, from teaching and stuff and students and even just checking out online forums and stuff like that, is people are really obsessed with that. Like, what scale should I use over, you know, a D7 chord, or what should I do for this? And it's like, okay, you can do this, or you can do whatever the hell you want. But ultimately it comes down to, do you really want to obtain this knowledge? Because it's a long journey. And if if you're not really into playing like that, if it's just because you think you should, then don't do it.
Right.
Like, make what you can already do even better. Play to your strengths. Obviously, improve a little bit, but don't worry about it. Like,
I mean, especially for bass.
especially for bass.
That was the
amount of times you get called to do that.
And it's not, even the fact of like playing for the song, and the atmosphere and of what's happening around
You never get that question, How do I play for the song? Nobody ever.
Nobody
really
asks that, because it's
but that should be.
That's a very intuitive thing to begin with,
Yeah.
So, Bruce's thing too was, Bruce was a bluesman. So, at the end of the day, and I'm playing Bobby Blue Bland songs with him.
You said that very well.
What?
Bobby Blue Bland Band.
Bobby Blue Bland. I probably said it a million times.
The Bobby Blue Bland Band.
Yeah. 4 B's, Bobby Blue Bland. But
Yeah.
Yeah. So he made us play extremely quiet, painfully quiet, to the point where, I always want to quit because of
Right.
it was so quiet.
Drums as well.
Oh my God, man! It was.
And was he blaring or?
No. We'd be playing some shithole bar in Destin, and there's a bunch of drunk people wanting to party, and we're playing a whisper.
Why?
It did a lot for me, because instead of playing for them, we're playing for
Each other.
the music and each other. We would like his whole thing was, if you start on 10, you have nowhere to go. If you start on 0, you can go to 10.
Yeah.
So that was that was a big transition. Was having a gig that is complete freedom, but also, the freedom comes from out of the tune. We're playing the tune. You're playing the tune.
Yeah.
But when we go away from the tune, anything can happen. It's a beautiful thing,
So that was kind of your schooling,
Yeah.
You didn't study, right?
I didn't study. I mean, I didn't go to school like a university, but
Yeah. But you still obviously put time in and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. But yeah.
yeah.
So you're kind of learning on the job. So Bruce McLaughlin. Let's jump there.
Yeah.
Because I remember the first time I heard McLaughlin was Matt Vishnu,
Me too.
Birds of Fire or Eternal Intermountain Flame. Those two were just like, what is this?
Yeah.
In fact, the first time I heard it, I didn't like it. It was too much.
When I first heard it, I was so big in the Weather Report,
Yeah.
and when I was 16, and what Rick was doing on bass was not enough for me back then.
Yeah.
Because
Well, we've got tough competition, let's be honest.
yeah,
But
but you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it was,
well, because when you're a 16-year-old bass player, you're into bass players that you can go.
yeah.
But then when you look at the overall concept of Matt Vishnu, even today, I put it on, I'm like, it's like listening to Jimi Hendrix.
Yes.
It's fresh.
It's amazing,
somehow.
man. And the sounds back then,
Yeah.
and what Cobbin was playing. I mean, and
No
Jan
shits were
Hammer.
given, but a lot of shits were given. But also, it was just like balls to the wall.
It was amazing. Yeah. Yeah, so the McLaughlin thing came about because, I started working with Jimmy, and Jimmy was Bruce alumni, and and Jimmy's like, again, like, as big as if a guitar player influences Wayne or any of these guys growing up. I mean, ARU was just an incredible band, and then all the stuff Jimmy after that Project Z, I was like a Jimmy Herring fanboy, and so I started working with him, and then one day it was like, hey, we're gonna do this tour with McLaughlin. I was like, whoa, no shit, that's awesome. But we're gonna play Mahavishnu with him as a double band. So I was like, wow, okay. So the concept was, it was both bands. We'd play a set, then John would play a set, then we'd go all on stage and play Mahavishnu tunes.
Who was in John's band at the time?
It was NTN and Ranjit, Etienne Mbappe and Ranjit Barot on drums, Gary Husband and John. And prior to the that tour, I did a gig with Gary and Ranjit over in Bangladesh, playing Ranjit's music, and then Gary, I did a Miles Davis tribute with Gary.
Okay.
So I was already in with those guys, which was equally scary call.
Yeah.
You know, because Ranjit writes beautiful, amazing, complicated Indian fusion.
Yeah.
And then, you know, Gary's just a genius. So I was already kind of in with Roger, Gary. We hung and drank, had a great time for a few days. But I met John in Bangladesh the year before my band played the same festival, King Baby. But, you know, it's when you meet guys like John or Bruce or those type of guys, like, you're kind of horrified, so you don't really say a lot. You know, we're at dinner, I'm just kind of sitting there like, yeah, like, just scared to talk. But so we get a call for the gig. We have these rehearsals, and then John says he's rearranged a bunch of songs. So now, the rehearsal we did without John in Atlanta was kind of useless because we can't listen to the old songs anymore.
Right.
So we had basically one day in Buffalo to have all the stuff together.
Did he send you chart? Did he have charts for you and stuff? Yeah.
He had these really cool garage band tracks with like charts. So
okay.
And we all did our homework like anybody would, and you know, and me and Etienne really gelled, and we had all of our stuff figured out what we're gonna play, and towards halfway through the tour we'd switch up, like, all right, tonight you do this part, you know.
Cool. So there was like, you know, orchestrated 2 bass parts and all
no,
that
it was
stuff.
well, we just choose what we wanted to do,
right?
You know, and so but we both studied it. I mean, obviously Etienne played with John forever. That we would switch on a dime, like before the gig. All right, you do this, I'll do this tonight. Okay, cool. Let's switch it. You know.
Sounds like fun.
It was awesome. It was
the
best experience of my life for sure.
Wow.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, not many people can say they played My Vision and stuff with John McLaughlin.
I mean, yeah, it's probably never gonna happen again either. You know,
Jeez, you're ticking them off fast, man.
I know. Try to. No.
Awesome. Let's move down this list that I've got here. Let's talk about FORQ.
Yes.
And is it FORQ?
Yes.
Yeah.
Last record, yeah.
Last record. Appropriately, I was listening to it on Halloween.
Nice.
And it has like a kind of a darker vibe to it than some of the other stuff. I think. Mm-hmm. Cool sounds.
That's Nick Hard. Nick Hard and the producer engineer in New York. He's amazing. And he got started. You know, Nick is mostly known in kind of the indie or kind of electronic experimental scene.
Yep.
And he started working. He did all the Rudder records.
Right.
So that kind of got his foot in the door where he started doing more instrumental stuff, and then of course started doing the snarky stuff.
Yeah.
And then FORQ. You know.
Yeah.
So a lot of it has to do with Nick Hard. You know, besides the songwriting, I mean, Nick is a very fearless guy in terms of sonic experimentation.
Did you learn some bass stuff from him?
I didn't do. That was the mic was still in the band.
On FORQ?
Yeah, but Nick is like one of my dear friends.
Right.
Besides all that, but you know, and Henry's also, and Chris and JT and Mike and those guys are all willing just to try stuff.
Yeah.
So you know, which is how it should be. Yeah.
So like, it's groove-based improvisational music, shall we say? Like, how far out do you guys take it on stage compared to recordings?
You know, the coolest thing about FORQ is that every night's different. Yeah. You know, some nights are kind of we're laughing about what we're doing, and some nights it's like in the cut, and some nights it's just different. You know, because everybody listens to so much different stuff. Yeah. You know, and JT is on such a next level of listening and also leading and following as a drummer.
Like big picture guy.
Huge. So, I mean, I remember one night on this tour, most of the improvs went to blues shuffles. You know, they just went there.
Okay.
So we're gonna do it. You know.
Just can't beat a good blues shuffle.
You know.
Yeah.
So it's every gig is different in those terms.
Did you play a lot of blues growing up?
I tried to, but again, I was such a fusion jazz metal guy.
Okay.
You know, and my dad he's a phenomenal musician, and at the time I was real big into what Victor was doing, and like kind of solo bass stuff.
Yeah.
So I show up to gigs and do that, you know.
And gigs with other musicians.
Yeah, you know, and I remember one time he's like, "Man, you gotta cut these parlor tricks out on some of these tunes, you know." And I was just being like, "You don't know anything. You're old." So.
Yeah, but JT played in Marcus's band. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah.
JT is his resume is huge, but you'd never know it from him, which is another great quality of somebody.
Definitely.
He doesn't wear that stuff on his sleeve.
Yeah.
And I actually had to Google all the stuff he's done because he's not going to tell you.
He doesn't give you like Marcus stories or.
I mean, if it comes up,
Yeah.
if I asked him, he would.
Yeah, cool.
You know, for sure. You know.
I mean, and Henry's done some stuff.
Henry's another hero growing up. You know, he was in Boomish and Rudder, and so yeah, his body of work is outstanding as well. You know.
What about the Kevin Scott band?
Well, that's my own personal thing is called Wax Paper.
Okay.
I've been working on it for a few years now. The original concept was I took this, this jam session I've been doing forever, and I started multi-tracking all the improv for a month. So I had 6 hours of improv.
Okay.
So I just go down there and edit it into songs, add samples on top of it.
Okay.
So at this point, I have 3 albums of material ready to go.
Are you going to release it as is? Or are you going to take those as songs and then re-record them essentially?
Well, the idea what I want to do is I take these improvised chunks I've added in the songs and play them live.
Yeah.
You know, it's pretty trippy stuff.
Yeah.
You know, it's all 3 albums are kind of different.
Do you have a band in mind?
Yeah, it's my guys in Atlanta. Yeah. Aaron Stanley, his amazing drummer, who's playing Osnoy now. And this guy Spencer Pope, who's like a synth wizard. Myself. This guy Zach Piles plays synth. Spencer and Zach are not in your typical realm of a jazz musician, but their way of improvising is based on such an interesting perspective. It's really hip.
Yeah.
Because it's mostly sonic improv.
Yeah.
And melodic. So it's like if I'm playing this really angular part with Darren and it's getting this weird stuff, they can somehow hear a melody over it, and then the harmony might just be kind of weird noisy stuff.
It's a different, like this whole, I wrote down here, there's like that whole McCaslin, Danziger, Jason Lindner, Tim LaFave, David Binney, Mark Juliana, like scene or way of playing jazz today that seems like it's a new standard, it's a new era, and you're kind of tapping in, you're part of that vibe now.
That's the real interesting thing about the guys too is Spencer and Zach and and Darren, they don't like. Spencer wouldn't necessarily. I don't think those guys have even heard that stuff. I mean, probably Darren has, but I know Zach and Spencer probably have.
So it might be coming from something earlier that everybody's been listening to.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of
electronic music, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, it's electronic music with like a touch of
Square Pusher.
Our stuff is a lot. It's more like indie rock.
Yeah.
Like in terms of it, but then just weird sounds.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't know. It's hard to describe.
Maybe it's the proliferation of boutique pedals.
Yeah, it's exactly what it is. Yeah, we're pedal salesmen.
When we get that OC2 and the ring modulator and the delay pedal.
Yeah.
That's some new stuff.
Yeah.
So you got these up and coming young ones that you played with, but what about the old guard? Some of those guys that you played with?
Well, the first, like kind of gig I ever had was Bernard Purdy. I was playing with Grant Green Jr. at the time a lot, and Grant played with Purdy, and I was out on tour with my band, and we opened for Purdy.
Okay.
And we learned a song called Teasin' that Purdy was on originally with Corneau Dupree, and Purdy jumps up on stage and all this stuff, and raises my hand in the air, and was like, "What are you doing on?" I'm like, "I'm there anytime you need me," But Purdy had a big impact on my playing too, because we're playing some of these old songs, and he stops, hits the drum, and is like, "Let it breathe, young man," And he was like, "Are you in the Chuck Rainey and Jerry Jamal?" I was like, "Yeah, they're my favorite." He goes, "But they played too much," So
it was a trick question.
Yeah. So yeah, again, it was like, I think one of the hardest parts about being a modern player is, like, there's a lot of times if I overplay, it's nervousness. Like nervous overplaying. And all those old guys just really didn't do that.
Yeah, because they were writing the book.
Right.
So they weren't trying to, be anyone else or whatever. It was like, it was a gig, it was a job.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. Yeah, wow. So you did some shows?
Yeah, we did a few festivals with him, and now every year I do this big Christmas show in Atlanta where I MD, and he does it every year.
Oh, cool.
It's like Fred Wesley, Purdy, because I worked with Fred on a Russell Gunn record years ago, which I didn't know Fred was going to be there.
Wow.
So I'm in the studio, and all of a sudden he comes in, and I was like, Jesus, man. And I do this, it's for the Ed Tim Collective. Every year we do a big Christmas throwdown at the Variety or Terminal West, or we're doing it at Buckhead Theater this year. But it's just getting these older guys that work with James Brown and all these other great artists to come in. And to me, it's like letting some of my friends experience working with them and learning. Because it's like, the horn players, Fred Wesley is your horn leader.
It's huge. And you get to play with Bernard.
Yeah. I had Jabbo one year.
Oh. You got to get them both at one time.
I know. Jabbo passed away.
Oh, did he?
I think last year, yeah.
Damn.
So.
What, like, have you played with any other drummers that sound like Purdy?
You know what? I think, honestly, like, the two guys, Jeremy Stacey.
Okay, I know that name.
From the UK. He's a phenomenal drummer and producer. But I went to go, Jeremy was a drummer for Wayne, and we played in the UK recently.
Right.
It was me, Jeremy, and Wayne at the Ronnie's. I knew Jeremy just from all the work he's done through mostly his pop work with Chill Crow, and he was just, he's one of those kind of drummers.
Yeah.
And he has an amazing student and tribute band that he does called the Royal Scammers.
Okay.
They were playing 2 nights when I was there. It's just the who's who of London guys. Rob Malarkey on bass, who's phenomenal. But they did Babylon Sisters. And Jeremy played, it was like the best I've ever heard anybody do a Purdy shuffle besides Purdy.
Okay.
And Mark Rodabaugh, my roommate / just like my best friends, he's an amazing drummer, but he's played with Purdy now. So like.
Oh, right.
And actually, Dwayne Trucks could do a perfect Purdy as well. Those are the 3 guys I know that have showed me they can do it.
How cool would it be to, you could die happy if you had that's the Kevin Scott bass line, to have like a groove named after you.
That would be amazing.
That would be pretty cool.
Purdy is something else, man. He still sounds as good as he ever has. He's almost 80.
Yeah.
Wow. He still hits harder than hell.
Really?
Yeah, oh my God. Yeah. It's ridiculous.
But it sounds good.
Oh my God. It's always one of my pleasures every year if somebody new does this a gig for the Christmas show.
Yeah.
They're kind of nervous, and then right when Purdy kicks into something, when that snare hits, it's like kind of scares them a
Does
little
it
bit.
like lift the band? Do you feel like it, like
Dude,
those kinds of drummers make a difference kind of thing?
He is, Purdy's time is like, it's perfection. It's an organic breathing thing. Well, I mean, it's like Wayne's time is perfect in another sense.
Yeah.
You know, whereas Purdy is just, he is time.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
It never feels wrong. or
never.
You're never struggling.
Never. And it's breathing. It's like this breathing organism. You know, it's like,
I wonder if that's something that's slowly getting kind of eked out of
It is.
drummers, because it's become such a sport almost, you know? It's like a game of athletics with drummers nowadays. And with the advent of computer recording stuff, everybody's so used to grids or click tracks even.
yeah.
But that idea of things can be shonky but not out of time.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think, in my opinion, the guys, you know, obviously Danziger can do that. Nate Wood can do that. Josh Dion can do that.
Carlock?
I haven't played with Carlock,
Okay.
but Carlock obviously, you know. But yeah,
He's doing Steely Dan, so.
and all those guys are in a weird kind of little scene together,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
It's like, but they're all, again, I think that separates everybody. The same thing with Purdy is that they're musicians, you know, as well as they're not drummers. You know, JT, you know, that guy's time is a breathing thing.
Yeah.
But he's a musician, you know.
Music lovers, I think.
Yeah.
You get Do you get some looks when you rock up with your board to gigs, or?
I mean, I used to. I mean,
Yeah.
And again, when I started whipping that board around town with a P bass, people thought it was crazy. You know, back then.
Yeah.
That was the standard. I mean,
Yeah.
it's hilarious.
Synth bass.
I produce and I've done some synth bass on recordings, but not like
Not live.
live. No.
Yeah, because that seems to be the other thing that you got to have in your arsenal is some kind of.
Yeah, I don't really plan on doing that live.
Yeah.
Unless I have to. Yeah.
But two hands for one line kind
You
of
know
thing.
what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm more into, if I had any kind of computer setup, it would be mostly for
Sounds.
and sampling.
Yeah.
You know, I'd rather just do the bass organically.
Yeah.
You know.
Let's talk a little bit about effects.
Okay.
Something that stands out to me when you're playing is that's as big a part of your bass lines as the notes that you choose a lot of the time. So what's your process? What's your approach? What are your faves? What are your discoveries?
Well, you know, Chris Hunt got me into the effects game.
Chris
Hunt. Drummer.
Okay.
You know, great producer. We had a band called Cloud Eater that was real popular. At one time.
I've got written down here, Kevin Lang and the Skin Flutes.
Yeah, that's my first band. And
Right, okay.
that was high school right there. But Kevin Lang and Skin Flutes. That was just a Mr. Bono clone, but tried to be, not even close. Yeah, but you know, first thing I ever got was OC3. That's when I was getting into like jungle and drum and bass.
Okay.
Because me and Chris were playing a lot together. Because at the time, Chris was like this really sick electronic drummer.
Jojo Mayer.
Yeah, sort of like that.
Yeah.
And then I started, you know, getting into the obsession soon after, you know. I don't know, it's like, to me, it's about utilizing any pedal you have in a musical context. You know, even if it's a ring mod or some weird delay phaser thing.
Yeah.
Like finding ways to make it a song move.
So like I guess maybe how I'm viewing it is like it's part of your improvisational palette.
Yeah.
Like instead of playing more notes or whatever, changing it up, you can like change the sound, and that changes the vibe and the energy as opposed to changing the harmony. So to
Exactly.
speak.
Exactly.
Would that be right?
Yep. And then, you know, in the studio too, it's amazing all the, you know, the more you know about delays and reverbs, like you get some really cool stuff happening.
Well, especially if one of the things I found, if you're going for like a kind of synthy bass thing, is like actually chorus and reverb or delay make it sound more like a real synth.
Yep.
That you're used to hearing on a record, because it's always going to have a little bit of wetness on it.
Yep.
And the chorus can give you that kind of wobble.
Oh
whatever.
yeah. Totally.
Yeah.
That was my rig forever. Was a Boss yellow distortion.
The ODB3.
Yep.
That thing is wild.
Yep.
Yeah.
And a OC2 and a
CB3 or whatever.
chorus.
Your Boss chorus.
Yeah. That was it. You know.
Well, I think that's a good little, trio or quartet to get to know. Different points in the chain as well make such a big difference.
It does.
A lot of my board is like octave, fuzz, and filter, but just in different orders.
Yep.
In different settings because it's different flavors.
Yep.
So that kind of vibe. But the P bass with OC2 all flat, like the Tim sound.
Yep.
It's like I almost kind of try and not avoid doing it, but as soon as I do it, I'm like, oh, people are going to think I'm trying to do that thing. But I don't know. Like, do you ever feel like that? Like people are like, oh, he's aping that vibe or whatever.
I mean, it's you get to a certain point where it's. I mean, Tim's big influence on the octave was Daryl Jones from his work with Sting, and I don't think whenever I like something a lot, I don't ever study it in terms of bass playing because it's at this point,
Yeah.
like catching a vibe is a lot different. Like I never sat down and like tried to transcribe LaFave bass lines because of how much we come from a lot of the similar backgrounds of thought, and I love it so much. It's like
You don't want to undo that magic.
no, I don't want to.
No.
But yeah, I mean, people were to compare and contrast everything. I mean, and in terms of like the P bass thing or jazz bass, it's like I'm not scared to admit like I went through a huge Anthony Jackson phase.
That's a good phase.
Where it was like everything I played was what would Anthony do, and then Chuck Rainey was another guy. Chuck, I catch myself now. I mean, if I'm doing a session for a soul R&B band, there's gonna be some Chuck Rainey double stops in there. And to me, it's more of a tribute to him because not a lot of people even know that. So. But yeah, people are gonna say things. It doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I don't think that. Tim doesn't think that.
No.
So it doesn't matter.
Yeah. I guess it's just because when you put on that pedal wet, everybody sounds the same.
Yeah.
To some,
Yep.
regardless. But what was I going to say? So pedals. Let's talk about basses.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to talk about basses. We've talked a little bit about basses since we've been here. You came to my attention through researching Moulin. So you
Huge advocate of Moulin.
Yeah, you got a couple.
Yep.
Yeah. How did that come around?
I was, I'm a very skeptical guy.
With gear or just in general?
Everything. I like to have my own opinion about things, or try to. And again, I played this, that 73P bass is, like my kid. And I was skeptical of the Moulins because I was like, well, it'll never be like a Fender. So when I first played, when I first played a gig with Tim, it was a few years ago, 4 years ago maybe. And it was a double bass gig with Kevin Williams in Atlanta. And he had his Moulin, and I played a few notes, and I was like, wow.
Yeah, really?
Holy shit. So he's like, well, I'll hook you up with Andy or whatever. So hit up Andy. I didn't hear back from him for a long time. And eventually I was endorsed by Reunion Blues. So I went to NAMM just to go meet Moulin. That's my goal, was to get a bass from Moulin. But that's basically what happened. So I went to Moulin, met him, and played. I was like, cool. And
were you just playing a Fender before that?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. 73.
73P, and I had this Frankenstein Highway 1 J that I still have now. It's a fretless.
Ah.
Because I got the Moulin J now.
Yeah.
But man, I mean, it's just something about those basses. You know, I had a good friend of mine, Coy Bowles, give me a Nash P bass years ago. And it's a great bass. I've used it on a lot of sessions, but it was never vibey enough for me to play live.
Right.
There's something about it. You know, it wasn't like playing a Fender, but I think Moulins have surpassed Fenders at this point in terms of playability and sound. You know,
I mean, you'd hope so. Like, that's one of the reasons of going for a small handmade instrument, I guess, is that it should be better than the stock Fender. Otherwise, just buy a Fender.
exactly. I mean, and I'd even dare to say that, you know, I've A-B'd some old Fenders in the studio with the Moulins, and the Moulins have kicked their asses a lot of the times.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, when you plug a P bass in a DI and track it, and then there's a whole band playing on top of you, we're talking small amounts of difference between, you know, a $12,000 59 P bass and a $700 Fender P
No,
bass.
it's true.
You know, it's different. Like, we'll hear it and we'll feel it, and feeling it is probably one of the biggest differences, I think.
Yeah.
Because it makes you play differently and you feel differently about it.
Yeah.
Or in terms of the actual finished product, they would both do the job.
Yeah, they would, and people are so obsessed with the kind of status of 60s Ps.
Yeah.
But, you know, out of as many as I've ever played in music shops or friends, I'd probably play 2 that I would play.
Yeah.
Out of maybe 11.
And then you look at the price tag and go, oh well.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta understand, it's like anything. Back then they weren't factory, you know, so there was a lot of mistakes and a lot of lemons.
Yeah, well, exactly, you know. Just because it's an old Fender doesn't mean it's going to be a good Fender.
Exactly. So, and I think that the Moulin obsession is that you can essentially get an amazing sounding playing bass for way cheaper.
For the price of a new Fender factory bass, essentially. Pretty much.
So it's like, I don't see the point in buying
Yeah.
a Fender factory unless you just find some good Squire. You know, I mean, I've played better Squires than I have standards or American standards.
Well, I mean, this Greco guy that I have, like, that's I got that for $600, and it does the P bass thing.
Yeah, man. I mean, I like it's a flatter net too.
It's kind of like between a jazz and a P almost.
Yeah, man. That's. Yeah, I mean, that's sick.
Yeah, I got put a Shaler bridge on it
Hell yeah.
and a Freeland pickup. Overwound.
I love it. And, dude, that is such a lawsuit bass. Look at the logo on there.
I know.
It's like a Gibson looking logo with Fender letters. That's amazing.
Yeah, I just picked up a Simar. You ever seen them? Remember the old Ibanez Roadsters?
Yeah.
So
I saw it on your Instagram.
yeah, 70s jazz bass thing.
Yeah.
$300. Like, and it's like I wanted like an Ash Maple 70s jazz bass, but I didn't have $5,000 to spend on it. This popped up and I was like, oh, got it set up, but we're working on it. It's just like, cool, now I've got a 70s sounding jazz bass. If the right one ever comes along and I have the money, then sure, I'll consider swapping it out. But
I mean, but even then, it's kind of like, is it nostalgic value almost while we do that?
and also I kind of like that it's a Greco and it's a Simar, like that it's not a Fender.
Yeah.
To some extent, I don't know why.
I'm the same way.
I just like to be on the left.
Yeah.
You know?
Of course.
Rigs. Ampeg guy, obviously Noble.
Oh yeah.
The Noble preamp's a big part of
Dark glass.
the vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I guess you're on the road so much, you just kind of got to vibe with whatever happens.
Man, I left. Yeah, I had my gigging rig in Atlanta was left at a nightclub for months because I never. I mean, I remember one time I actually had to borrow a bass amp for a gig in Atlanta because they were using my amp at the club. So.
You charging them rental?
No.
Free beer?
Should have.
Yeah, should have. Do you practice?
I do.
What would a practice session look like for you?
A lot of it now is working on material.
Repertoire?
Yeah, repertoire
For-
practicing.
yeah.
Or if I'm producing, rearranging or something. Or if I actually sit down and play bass, just for the idea of shedding. A lot of it is, I'm a huge freak about Robbie Shakespeare and the dub, old dub.
Yeah.
So I just sit down that for an hour or two and play along to just basically go onto YouTube and just find a playlist.
Yeah.
And whichever song pops up, start playing it.
Just try and just jam along.
Yeah. And then I've been working on a lot of like Jocko again lately.
Yeah. What's it been like revisiting? Because it's probably been, 10,
It's been amazing.
15 years.
I mean, it's just even more devastating now, man. Like it's beyond comprehension,
Yeah.
really. And as a kid, it was, I used to, I had a lot of his stuff transcribed, like note for note solos and all the grooves he played. And so I've been revisiting that, just
do you dig out the jazz bass for that?
yeah.
The fretless?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like Havana and Continuum and
Man, yeah, and Port of Entry. Man, the 830 record, all that stuff, sightseeing. I mean, it's just.
Did you ever get the Trio of Doom?
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
Dark Prince. We used to play that song all the time.
Yeah, right.
Man, that's been kind of like a really zen kind of thing as the Shed Jocko, And sometimes like I like to study like studio recordings, whatever the bass player was doing,
Okay.
from Steve Winwood to Aretha Franklin, whatever,
Nathan East, Will Lee.
Yeah, of course.
Did you ever have a Marcus period?
Oh yeah. I mean, I saw Marcus in Atlanta. When I was in 17.
Okay. All right.
Blew my mind.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I used to play some of those songs in high school with my band, or try to.
Cool.
Yeah, huge Marcus.
Stanley.
Never really got really huge into Stanley Clark.
Yeah.
Trying to think who else.
Victor Bailey.
Yeah, Victor was horrifyingly good. I never really studied his stuff though.
Were you a Prince fan?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, some people are like, no, I never got it.
What?
I know. I kill them whenever
Shove 'em in
they're all
the
dead
pool.
now. But
That's why you got me out here. Is you gonna be like,
yeah,
he doesn't like Prince.
he can't swim.
Or he's, yeah, we're just drowning.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I give a I read that I'll find some random Prince cut and put on. I'm like, what?
Yeah, my buddy Jesse had a subscription to his music service.
The MPG or whatever it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So he has all that stuff.
Bootlegs and stuff. Yeah.
So but yeah, Prince was brilliant. Of course, had a huge Victor phase.
Yep.
O'Teal, huge O'Teal phase.
Oh yeah.
In fact,
He kind of played in some of the guys that you ended up playing with, right?
yeah, he was in ARU and he played with Jimmy's band. And I've known O'Teal for a minute, but there's it's so weird. During the John tour, my one solo every night, besides the ending, was like over Trondasa, which is an old ARU tune.
Okay.
It's really complicated changes, and
You're like, thanks.
yeah, thanks a lot, Jimmy. No, but it's so funny. I was playing this recording we have from some multicam thing we did, streaming thing, and I didn't even check any of it out until after the tour. We're my buddy's Rick's car, and he starts laughing. Goes, "That is all O'Teal stuff you're playing." I was like,
So it sounded good.
Damn it. I was like, man, you know. But it's hard to get away from, you know, like when it comes like O'Teal's way of soloing,
Yeah.
it's so intentional and so soulful. You know, it's hard.
Yeah, I mean, it's good. It sounds good. Like you want to sound good, I guess. Like,
it's just, you know, because I haven't really, I got out of the soloing thing a while back, and the irony is when I was actually studying soloing, I was more into like Pat Martino or something. So I was really going down.
Pat Metheny?
Yeah, I love Pat, but
Pat Martino, yeah.
I thought Martino's concept of linear, only diminished, only augmented, you know, only minor for everything.
Yeah.
I was like, I love it. So, I was forever kind of trying to be a bridge between, you know, Martino, Garrison, and Jocko. You know.
Cool.
But then, and I didn't, again, like O.T. was another guy, like I never wanted to study him because I loved it so much. Like, like it was like, not saying I didn't love Martino, Garrison, or Jocko, obviously, but like, he was so close to home that it was kind of like, you know, which is hard for me now.
But then it came out anyway.
It's hard not, like,
yeah.
You know, but, you know.
Cool, man. Well, I reckon we ticked off a lot of things.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks for hanging out.
Oh, man.
Wrap it up there. Kevin Scott, everybody.